here? When did you come? And how you help Ukrainians?
Yes, so my name is Nicole, and I'm from the new federal state of China. And so I've been here since March 8th, and we're sponsored by the Rule of Law Foundation in New York to come here to provide humanitarian support for the Ukrainian refugees. And so our message is very clear. It's printed on our vest. We are the new Chinese people taking down the Chinese Communist Party. And we want to make this message very clear on our vest, outside of our tent, in our banner, because we want to make sure people don't confuse us as the Chinese government people. So sometimes people are not sure if we are sent by the Chinese government. And we know the Chinese Communist Party is Putin's friend and is providing military and financial aid for this invasion. And but the Chinese Communist Party does not represent the Chinese people. We are the new Chinese people. We're represented by the new federal state of China. We're against the Chinese communist dictatorship. We're actually taking down the Chinese Communist Party because it's not only causing the problems, sufferings of the Chinese people inside China, but also in Ukraine and in many other countries. The Chinese Communist Party has grown very strong politically, financially, economically, and diplomatically. They've been using their muscles. They've been flexing their muscles and act very aggressively to destroy the democracy, freedom, and rule of law in many other countries. So that's why we consider it is a global mission to take down the Chinese Communist Party so that we can eliminate the root cause of all the global disasters worldwide. And so speaking of this tent, as you can see that this is a very well-equipped tent, and we have received over 16,000 Ukrainian refugees, mostly women, children, and the elderly. And in the cold winter days, people can sleep here. We have 24/7 electricity, warmth, fresh water, clean food, and comfort. And we even have a kids corner where kids can play. And so this is the heater during the winter time. And we have many Ukrainian refugees, even though they speak very little English, they use their translator to tell us how much they appreciate the international community, and especially from the Chinese people coming all the way to support them. And so I was born in communist China, but I'm a US citizen. We immigrated to America because we didn't like to live in a communist society. We fled communist China, and we want to help the Chinese people inside China to become free as well. So we follow our leader, Mr. Maslouski. He's the founder of the new federal state of China. He started whistleblowing against the Chinese government's crimes against humanity back in 2017 in New York. And then so soon he found himself being followed by hundreds of millions of Chinese people inside and outside of China, and also by people from other nationalities, because a lot of people have come to realize that Chinese Communist Party has been threatening the liberty and the freedom of people everywhere, not just in China. So we have received overwhelming support from people working here in Medica. So we are the people's voice. We want to help the Chinese people to become free, and we share the universal value with all peoples from around the world about freedom, liberty, rule of law, and democracy. Thank you.
He wants to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
So he wants to ask whether you believe that dictatorship, not only in China but around the world, could be overcome and destroyed and crushed, and if so, when do you think it will happen?
Yes, I believe that all dictatorships share very similar desires, which is to have a monopoly of people controlling the majority people's wealth and power, and without their consent. And so I think that's the nature of the dictatorship, whether it is the Chinese Communist Party, whether it is Kim Jong-un in North Korea, or it is Putin. And so I think that because of their similar nature, they're probably, working together to strengthen the evil power. But I think that people's power is always much greater than they think. And so don't underestimate the people's power, because throughout the history we have seen, the Roman Empire was overthrown by the people, and the many so-called big empire, they collapse overnight or over some period of time because they cannot stand the test of time. They don't represent the universal value, and that's why people are going to overthrow them. So I think it's just a matter of time. I know in this country, as we speak today, in this country, Poland, the Polish people overthrew communism some 30 years ago. And I spoke with many Polish people. They told me the Chinese Communist Party is much bigger, so it will take a longer. But 30 years later, it's happening now. Now we have a new federal state of China, which is the opposition of the Chinese Communist Party's dictatorship. So it is already happening. Don't lose hope. Don't keep dreaming. Keep fighting, because we will win.
What wishes would you have for the Ukrainians, but not only to Ukrainians, but to the Belarusians, and also to other people who are the Georgians who were victims of Putin's aggression in 2008, to the Transnistria people in Moldova who are now being ruled by this thuggish regime, Syrians who are, along with the new federal state of China, are combating the dictatorships around the world. What would be your wish? What would you say to them?
We wish all the freedom-loving people will realize your dream of living in a peaceful and free and democratic society. And we believe justice will prevail and people will be able to establish their own independent, free nation, according to their own will, because it's a human nature to live free. And dictatorship never lasts, no matter how powerful they seem to be. But throughout the history, we see how the dictatorship has fallen one after another. And so don't lose hope, and we wish all the freedom-loving people all the best. Keep fighting until you're free. Thank you.